Alright, what's going on everyone? It's Sly Hopkins. Welcome back to another episode of Game Dev Reacts, and today we're going to be looking at Black Myth Wukong. So a little bit about the developer before we get into the game itself is from Game Science. Now, I've never heard of Game Science, and if you look into Game Science, they don't have a long history of producing games. I believe they've made a couple of mobile games, and this goes to my point a couple videos ago when I was talking about the decline of AAA gaming. It didn't mean that there wasn't going to be great AAA games. What I meant by that is these studios are going to rise and take the place of these AAA game studios. Now, Black Myth Wukong is technically a AAA game, but you get my point. It's from a studio that kind of comes out of nowhere, an underdog studio. I believe they have 130 people working on this, but they only started with 30. And for a massive game that's getting the amount of publicity that Black Myth Wukong is, that's kind of exactly what I was talking about. So my only experience knowing about the story of Wukong is actually from League of Legends. I know, don't laugh at me, but apparently there's a long history and story of Wukong. There was something called the Journey to the West. I'm not gonna pretend I know too much about that, but I have been doing some research, and essentially this is Chinese folklore, if you will, and it just on the first impressions, I'd kind of compare it to a God of War type story. The game description itself, this is kind of the short description they give you on Steam. This is usually the most important description because they tell you when you're releasing your game on Steam, write something short and concise. It's going to be right under the title that people will read. And this is what it says. It says, Black Myth Wukong is an action RPG rooted in Chinese mythology. You shall set out as the destined one to venture into the challenges and marvels ahead, to uncover the obscured truth behind the veil of a glorious legend from the past. So, Chinese mythology isn't something that we get too much in gaming. As far as the Asian mythology goes, we usually get Japanese mythology or Japanese stories. And besides, medieval Europe and that time period, for me, the Chinese mythology is very interesting. They have a very animal driven mythology where they have tons of crazy different creatures, and there's like a lot of spirits that go into this, and it's just something that's very interesting to me. Just the very first thing I saw in this was just some kind of concepts and the colors, the landscape of ancient China. It's all beautiful, right? So just that my very first impressions were that this game was going to be at least headed in the right direction, and if you can get a good company to kind of, put that all together, then there's the ingredients for a very good game. Now the final trailer, this game releases in 2 days. I'm recording this on August 17th. It'll be out on August 19th on PC, and then I believe the 20th on PS5. As far as I know, that could be off by a day or so. The trailer looks beautiful. It shows a mix of Chinese landscapes. You have all these vast areas in China that you can really explore, and they're so different, all these landscapes. You have the flat, bright landscapes, and you have the dark, foresty jungles. And the thing that I've really been impressed by is the amount of monsters, the different types of monsters. Now I've watched about an hour of gameplay on this. There's not too much gameplay released, but it looks, the gameplay, it looks like a lot of these games where you have a center point, you can run around, dash, you have some special features, but all of these games are somewhat similar. You get the God of Wars. I know it's not a Souls-like. People have been talking about that, but it's not exactly a Souls-like. But it's done in the same spirit. Even if you look back at games like Fable, it's all the you lock onto the character in the middle, you lock onto the target, you can run around, you can dash, you can sprint, and they're adding in new stuff. So what has to happen when you have a game like that is the mythology and the stuff surrounding it has to be great. And what I mean by that is you have all of these different monsters that look beautiful. You have a main character that has all these different abilities. You have a landscape that looks beautiful. So even though the core mechanics of combat are kind of similar in all of these games, with Black Myth Wukong you have such a different experience, something that you don't normally get in these games, and that's the amount of bosses and the amount of different scenarios you get. I heard something that if you beat a boss in a certain amount of time, then it'll unlock like the second phase of a boss. But if you're like in a fight with this boss and you take too long, that's the only boss you get. So that's almost the way that they gauge the difficulty, which is that is insanely unique, and it's something that I'm surprised hasn't happened more. So say you're fighting boss A, you beat him in a minute, it unlocks the second phase of this boss. You fight the same boss again, you beat him in 3 minutes, that's the end of the boss. Because maybe they both would have taken 3 minutes, but I don't know how much of that's exactly accurate, but that's just something I've heard. But overall, I'm just extremely impressed by this game. This type of game isn't the one I typically play. It's just such a genre that's kind of been played out, I want to say. But when you have something unique and new like this, I'm definitely going to give it at least a try. I'm going to buy it on Steam when it comes out. Um, and I've heard a few people complain about it, but for the most part, it looks amazing, and I'm definitely going to be checking it out. And I suggest, if you take my word for it, then I definitely suggest that you check it out yourself. So, Black Myth Wukong looks amazing. I am very happy for this new studio to pop up. You love seeing new gaming studios. Like that's something we're all kind of asking for. If you're a game consumer, is you want to see these kind of studios that are becoming massive billion-dollar corporations that don't really care about gaming. We kind of want to see them get phased out, or we want to see them get motivated again. Maybe these big companies can start buying. Well, actually, no, that's not even a good idea, because we saw what happened to Fable when Microsoft bought Lionhead Studios. So, not much more I can say. This game looks very impressive, and I'll definitely be playing this day one. So, that's it. Make sure you guys leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about this game, and subscribe if you're new to the channel and like gaming. It's mostly a game development channel, but I do this series of videos called Game Dev Reacts, just because I like talking about these new games that look good. So that's it. Have a good day.